Out of curiosity, I've seen these things being listed on eBay for some time now. It's in fact a $12 USB borescope. I don't really expect much in the way of image quality. Let's have a look. First thing I wanted to look at was inside the K-Jet airflow meter housing. Unfortunately, due to the size of it and the obscure shape of this device, you can't really do much. You can have a look at the throttle body plate, but you can't really get around the backside of the airflow meter to see underneath the fuel distributor. So it's kind of useless in that regard. I did have a go at feeding it through the idle air port on the side after removing the idle valve. We'll see that shortly. This is pretty much all I could see through the air metering flap at the top. Here it is feeding through the idle air port on the side. You can already see there's fuel wetness everywhere. It's very damp inside there, and the stench is unbearable. I was basically getting high from the fuel fumes just from having this pipe disconnected. So the leak from the bottom of that fuel distributor is getting quite serious. I'll have to reseal that again quite soon, because I don't really want this rubber boot getting destroyed even further, because it was brand new when I fixed this engine up 3 or 4 years ago. No doubt it's going hard already from the heat and the fuel vapors, but I don't want it to get destroyed. Just out of interest, let's go for a dive down the transmission dipstick tube. The walls of this tube are pretty reasonable, not a lot of corrosion. We can see we've gotten down to the transmission fluid. I didn't fancy going for a swim yet, because I might want to use this before getting it completely saturated in fluid and oil and whatnot. So I just pulled it out before getting submerged. Now for the horror show, let's have a look at the engine oil dipstick tube. Looks okay so far, but you can see there's heavy corrosion inside as you go down further and further. The reason for this is obviously condensation that builds up from a running engine and not getting up to operating temperature, etc. So I shall remember to have this plated on my red project. These are the things you don't see normally, because the outside looks perfectly fine, but obviously the inside gets corroded from the moisture. I just wanted to have a look inside the oil cap, and as per usual the cap was too difficult to remove by hand, so I grabbed these whatever they're called, pliers, to grip onto it and open it up. I'm aware that you can lubricate the rubber seal with silicone grease, and that should make it easier to remove. I will do that tomorrow, now that I remember. And what you can see in here is fairly limited as well. Although I am very pleased to see how clean my cylinder head is still, and my camshafts. That's after 4 years from the last cylinder head refurbishment. What is not so pleasing to see is the fact that that crappy factory paint on the valve cover is in fact peeling off on the inside. That's undesirable because it could potentially block things up if it gets into the wrong places. There's a bit of it there, but there's more of it elsewhere too. And you can see the round seals around the spark plug holes as well. Unfortunately, when I redid the cylinder head on this car, I didn't think to have this valve cover professionally refurbished. It was just something I did at home. I gave it a crappy spray can job and didn't really do much to the inside other than clean it out. And it shows because the inside is only getting worse. And it still has all of the garbage baked on from previous poor servicing. And you can see more paint is peeling off there as well. And that's only going to get worse. I might have to refurb this valve cover like I did to the red engine, because it's not fair that that engine should be so much better than my favourite car. And what bore scope examination would be complete without going in a spark plug hole? This is cylinder number 2. This is the one that had coolant leaks twice with the previous owners due to, and I use the term loosely, so-called German experts changing the head gasket and using a rotary wire brush to clean the cylinder head and scratching the absolute shit out of it. The head gasket failed twice in a row in the space of 10,000 kilometers, and that's when I purchased this car for the amazing sum of $350. And then I've gone through it with a fine-tooth comb and fixed everything. And you can see this cylinder and piston still look very good. I did clean all of the carbon off the top of these pistons before putting the cylinder head on. So this is about 10,000 kilometers worth of build-up since I've had the car. This camera did come with a attachment with a side mirror inside it for looking sideways and above. The image quality is absolutely terrible when you're using this because it seems to reflect most of the light into the camera lens, so it kind of defeats the purpose. Here you can sort of see the valves, they look very clean, but the image is so crap that, yeah, if it's not something large like this, you don't have much chance in actually making out what it is. I will show what the cylinder walls look like, but it's very hard to make out exactly what's going on. You can see the crosshatch pattern, but not particularly well. This is what I'm talking about. That's pretty much all you can make out of the walls. That's the light being reflected off that mirror onto the wall and back into the lens. It's just terrible all around. So I wouldn't be wasting my $12 to use one of these as a serious diagnostics tool. It's merely a curiosity. Go spend that $12 on a couple Happy Meals and you'll probably be better off.